Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. What a roller coaster of a ride today in the past few days. It's kind of amazing, yet there are a lot of depressed people out there and a lot of excited people out there as well. But man, this is what it is to be a DCU fan. We're just like always like this, right? So we know Aquaman made $1 billion. That's great. 1 billion, yeah. So it just seems very likely that after that, all these other things start to happen, right? So we got hit with the Birds of Prey teaser, which was really exciting, and I can't wait to see what that's all about, the full trailer, and ultimately what the movie's about, right? Got that. We had Zach is back. He's gonna make a zombie movie. He's with Netflix now. So for Zack Snyder fans, that is great. On the opposite side of that, he may not be part of the DCEU anymore. Sort of. I mean, he's still producing and executive producing for Warner Brothers for certain DCEU or DC projects. So there is that. But making another DC movie, we'll have to wait and see. Right now, he's working on Army of Dead. That's the movie he's announced out in the open. Something he's been having written has been part of writing for since like 2007 2008, so that's been in the works for a while, and that will ultimately go on Netflix, and I had a whole video on that yesterday. Okay, so and right after I sent out that video, this dropped. It's from Kevin Smith. He had a video about and it had a lot of things. There were a lot of different topics, but one of the little topic was Justice League, right? So he had some friends, and when he went to England or something, and he knows people that actually worked on both versions, the Snyder Justice League and the Justice League, and they had worked on both of them, and ultimately said that Snyder's Justice League was a lot better. It had an arc. It was incredible. And so what he got to see was storyboards from Jim Lee. Yeah, Jim Lee wrote out the three-part storyboard: Part 1, Justice League Part 1, Justice League Part 2, Justice League Part 3. And so he got to check those out, and was kind of blown away what was shown. So basically, Justice League Part 1 was the movie that we got. Steppenwolf arrives on Earth, gets defeated by Justice League. At the end, the boom tube opens, and they see Darkseid, and there could be some fighting there, depending on who you talk to. And then that's when they realize there's a bigger threat out there. And so that's how it ends. And we kind of knew about that boom tube opening and seeing Darkseid, things like that. Part 2 was going to be like really into the cosmos. They're going in space. Justice League takes the fight to Darkseid on Apocalypse. They find the Green Lantern Corps, and they fight with Darkseid. Unfortunately, Darkseid beats them and heads towards Earth, and it turns the world into the nightmare nightmare world from Batman v Superman, right? So, and then Part 3 is the final stand against Darkseid, and it's set on the Nightmare Earth. So that's how it's supposed to have been, according to Kevin Smith and who the people he talked to, and according to what he saw on the storyboard. There's some discrepancies there in ways. He said, like, then the Alfred scene where it says, hope you're not too late in Justice League, he said there was green lights, and that was supposed to have been where Green Lanterns show up. So that's a little bit like, well, we actually saw the deleted scene of Superman showing up, unless that little part, I hope it's not too late, was cut for another thing, or he saw the storyboards of what it was originally intended, and then they changed it to Superman. So we know there was many changes, and that's part of the changes. But I think what he saw was the original arc, the Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. I think that would have been amazing. That would have been a complete arc. Would have made sense from Man of Steel to BVS all the way to Justice League Part 3. I think it would have been super great and super awesome. And it's unfortunate we're not going to get that. But and it's unfortunate. So like they've changed it since then. We talked about this. We're going to part one and part two, and then ultimately it's just one movie. There's no part two. It's just the Steppenwolf movie, and so I guess they want to save Darkseid for Ava DuVernay's New Gods instead. So there's that with that. But so we believe the Snyder Cut is essentially they're still going off their separate ways, defeating Steppenwolf, and that is that. No mention of Darkseid whatsoever. And that's how we believe it was. But it's incredible that to hear that, and it's great to hear Kevin Smith and Fat Man say out in the open that they think they should release a Snyder Cut. They think it's profitable. They believe that they could totally make some money from this movie Snyder Cut, and they should just give the fans what they want and just release the Snyder Cut. So I'm glad at this point they're still talking about it and they're still championing it. And a way putting out it in the open for everyone to know. And I believe hopefully that means Warner Brothers will listen, or put it on Netflix, or just see some value in recouping their losses from Justice League by releasing this cut, either selling it to someone who will finish it or finish it themselves and sell it. That's up in the air. Okay, so that was exciting. That's exciting, I think, to hear a little bit more about Justice League. It kind of depressing as well, because you're like, whoa, man, that's what we could have got, but we didn't. So, but at least there's some hope there that it would have been amazing. And it's great to hear from Kevin Smith, hire people in the fan community and also in the studio type community that they're also championing as well. It's always great to hear, other than fans. It's great to hear from fans as well, but it's great to have a voice that's higher and above us. You know what I mean? So I think that's a good thing, and I think it puts it out more there in the open for everybody to hear and see, and wanting or curious to see, hey, is it real? I want to see it. Let's check it out. Why not they release it and things like that. So there is that, and that's the old world. That's the old DCEU, and some of these people, characters from within this older DCU that started by Zack Snyder, were on the fence by the media and bloggers, on the fence that they were gonna continue or come back as their characters. And we know about the Henry Cavill situation, but in this case, we're talking about Ben Affleck. Yeah, so it was kind of a heartbreaking day for a lot of us, including myself, for when I first found out, right? So Ben Affleck, a Deadline article came out, and it says, breaking news, the Batman to fly in summer 2021, Ben Affleck passes the torch to next generation of Bruce Wayne. Right, so this is exclusive from Deadline. Warner Brothers is dating their next rendition of Batman for June 25th, 2021. This is the one that Matt Reeves has been attached to as a writer and director. Ben Affleck, we hear, will not be donning the Dark Knight's tights after playing the Caped Crusader in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, and Justice League, and that's because this movie will focus on a younger Bruce Wayne. Reeves boarded Batman in February of 2017, taking over for Affleck, who was originally set to direct off a script he wrote with DC's Jeff Johns. Affleck, we understand, has a busy plate. As Deadline exclusively broke, he is starring in and producing the feature adaptation of Kate Alice Marshall's novel, I Am Still Alive, which Universal won in a competitive bidding scenario. The two-time Oscar winner is also starring in the Warner Brothers Gavin O'Connor drama Torrance. Affleck worked hard on the Batman story, but he knew he wasn't the right one for his particular version. A search is underway for a new Dark Knight. The Batman will not be based on Frank Miller's Batman Year One comic, which is one of Reeves' favorites in the Caped Crusader canon. And then, of course, Affleck does confirm this by tweeting out saying, excited for the Batman in summer 2021 and to see Matt Reeves' LA vision come to life. And so you retweeted that out for the Batman, right? Now, before we get into anything about that, I want to tell you a little bit of the Batman. So, the Batman, we had the Hollywood Reporter actually interviewed James Gunn. Oh, I'm sorry. What does it say? Matt Reeves. I've totally put that. Oh my God, Matt Reeves. Sorry. So I told the Hollywood Reporter. I jumped the gun there. So, Batman, tell us about your take. That's what Hollywood Reporter was asking Matt Reeves. He said, it's very much a point of view driven noir Batman tale. It's told very squarely on his shoulders, and I hope it's going to be a story that will be thrilling but also emotional. It's more Batman in his detective mode than we've seen in the films. The comics have a history of that. He's supposed to be the world's greatest detective, and that's not necessarily been a part of what the movies have been. I love this to be one where when we go on that journey of tracking down the criminals and trying to solve a crime, it's going to allow his character to have an arc so that he can go through a transformation. And they asked, have you begun the casting process? And he said, there will be a rogues gallery. The casting process will begin shortly. We're starting to put together our battle plan. I'm doing another pass on the script, and we'll begin some long lead stuff to start developing conceptual things. And then they ask, what's your goal as far as a release date? And then, we already have a release date already, June 25th of 2021. But the one thing they said is Warner Brothers has been incredibly supportive and given me a lot of time and shared the same passion that I do for this story. No title yet. Right now it's just called The Batman. What it will be called ultimately, he doesn't know. And then how involved are you with the other films in the DC universe, be it Harley Quinn or Batgirl? And so Matt Reeves said this, right now I'm involved in the Batman. What it will be called ultimately, I don't know. Aquaman is going to be a very different from the Todd Phillips Joker movie, and that's going to be different from Shazam and Harley Quinn. Warner's believes they don't have to try to develop a giant slate that has to have all the plans for how it's going to connect. What they need to try and do is make good movies with these characters. So that is the interview with the Hollywood Reporter Matt Reeves had discussing his upcoming Batman movie. Okay, so let's get a little bit more into it. Ben Affleck, he's the best Batman I've ever seen on screen, and I am really sorry to see him go, if he is really going, because I believe he's the best interpretation I've ever seen of Batman, the brawling and things like that. He did some detective work in Batman v Superman, so there is that, but in terms of on-screen Batman, he's my best Batman, and I really hope him the best, and good luck in his future things. That's if we're to believe that he's actually not Batman anymore. But that wasn't the only news that jumped out, and I jumped the gun, but the Hollywood Reporter also reports James Gunn is in talks to direct Suicide Squad sequel, and that's an exclusive. So the movie is not entirely unexpected, as Gunn was already writing the script for the follow-up, which Warner Brothers just slotted for an August 2021 release. The deal making does, however, solidify that the new Suicide Squad film will be his next directorial effort. Disney fired Gunn from his Marvel franchise in July after old tweets from 2008 and 2009 resurfaced, in which he made insensitive and controversial jokes. The pick has the title of The Suicide Squad and is not being labeled a direct sequel, but as a relaunch. The 2016 original movie featured the characters Deadshot, Harley Quinn, the Joker, Captain Boomerang, and Killer Croc, who were forced into the service of a government in exchange for lighter prison sentences. Sources say that Gunn's focus is to take the franchise in a new direction with mostly all new cast of characters and actors. Sources also say the project is also very much rooted in Gunn's vibe as seen in the Guardians movies. Charles Roven and Peter Safran will produce the feature. Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder are acting as executive producers. So that is Suicide Squad 2-ish, or is it like a relaunch? So, all right, let's get into this. Okay, so two things we've heard right now. So from all the different media bloggers and all these scoopers are coming out and says, we've heard it, I told you so, we've heard it's finally come to pass. Ben Affleck is no longer Batman. He was the best Batman. People are saying that he's the best Batman and all this. So it's really sad, and a lot of people out there, fans are crying. I've seen it. And it's really sorrowful moment, but it is trending. Ben Affleck, the Batman, trending today. Yesterday was Zack Snyder was trending. Birds of Prey was trending the other day. I mean, it's just incredible how much effect this DCEU have, or people who were involved in the DCEU have. And so I am I'm shocked and not shocked. Like, we've heard it coming, but at the same time, I didn't expect it. And so I am sad. I mean, I really am sad that Ben Affleck is gone, right? That he's no longer going to be the Batman, as reported by these people. And I'm really sad that they're trying to relaunch Suicide Squad. It's almost like resetting the universe in a way, but in James Gunn style, right? And the characters, this is a new Suicide Squad, and they're gonna maybe write that off. At least that's how they're interpreting, or people are interpreting. So that's the thing. There are two interpretations here. The one I just told you is the sad one, and the one that is not, I guess you can't really fully read into it, but it's the backing is coming from all these media bloggers, and their websites are queuing in certain words in here that make you believe that Ben Affleck is not coming back as Batman, and James Gunn is recasting all of Suicide Squad. But the other side, and a lot of you have pointed this out, including Grace Randolph. I know, Grace Randolph. She's tinfoil hat area. Now, I don't know if this is tinfoil, but it's just really just, let's dig deep into that for a second, okay? So, Ben Affleck tweeted out, excited for the Batman in summer 2021 and to see Matt Reeves' LA vision come to life. Although the Deadline Hollywood title is The Batman to Fly in summer 2021, Ben Affleck passes the torch to the next generation of Bruce Wayne. Okay, so when you look at that, he's liking that tweet or retweeting that tweet, and so you would assume, I guess, he's saying, yeah, I'm passing the torch, right? But if you really look at the article, and even the article states this, it's kind of iffy, I think. And I think maybe we jumped the gun, you know. But here is what he said, okay? This is what the article said. This is the one that Matt Reeves has been attached to as a writer and director. So, I'm sorry, Batman, June 25th. Ben Affleck, we hear, will not be donning the Dark Knight's tights after playing the Caped Crusader. You take all that out. And that's because this movie will focus on a younger Bruce Wayne. Now, when Ben Affleck pulled that out, he retweeted it. He's confirming that he's excited for the Batman because he's possibly not going to be involved in that Batman because he's not young enough to be a 20-year, or so younger Batman. And so if we look at this, without the assumption that he's leaving, or without even having that conversation before, if someone knew and they read the Deadline Hollywood and it says, oh, this movie wants a younger Ben Affleck. Oh, okay, so I guess that doesn't mean Ben Affleck, younger Bruce Wayne, sorry. That means, well, Ben Affleck is not going to be in it. And if he does, he could still cameo in it. He's just saying he's excited for the Batman summer 2021 and to see Matt Reeves' vision come to life. He's also, by the way, the producer for the Batman movie. So he's involved in that fashion. Whether he makes as a cameo, who knows? And so, like Grace Randolph did say in the video, if you ever bother want to check it out, she does go into that, where he could play that Robert Downey Jr. Being that older guy who comes in some movies and just he's the older Bruce Wayne. So, And as time goes on, he'll turn 55. He'll actually grow into the character he was supposed to have played in Batman v Superman, an older, grizzled Bruce Wayne, right? So it's okay in that terms of sense. And when you look at that, it makes sense. But at the same time, we're being very cautious to open our hearts again, because in order to get it broken, in which case, at this point, it doesn't really. We really did jump it, and I think it's because of the line that says Ben Affleck passed the torch, and it doesn't help when Mark Hughes and Robles and all these other people come out and says, and, you know, it didn't help. I said it too. I'm sorry, but I may have jumped it too. So, but when you look at it carefully, he's not saying he's not saying thank you for allowing me to be the Batman. It was a great time, but now it's coming. You know, now he hasn't said that. He just says he's excited for the Batman, which is a younger Batman, and see Matt Reeves. And so for this movie, Ben Affleck is passing the torch to a younger Batman. But does that mean that he cannot get the torch back when a movie calls for the older Batman or the present day Batman again? We'll have to think about that. The other thing is James Gunn's movie. So when you first hear it, and I first heard it too, and they're like, "Oh, relaunch and it's rebooting and stuff like that." They're you know, the headlines are crazy. But when you look and you read the actual article, and it says exactly this. If I can find it again. Ooh, where did it go? Okay, so it says this. Sources say that Gunn's focus to take the franchise in a new direction with a mostly all-new cast of characters and actors. Mostly all new cast of characters and actors. Now, you could say, well, Harley Quinn, she's in Birds of Prey, of course she's coming back. Will Smith is a name, of course he'll come back as Deadshot, which is fine. And maybe what I'm thinking it's saying is that most of the characters from Suicide Squad, David Ayer's Suicide Squad, will return in this one, but they'll be introducing new characters. They didn't say we're recasting anybody. They're just saying mostly all new cast of characters, and of course a new cast of characters will need a new cast of actors to play those characters. So, and we know that in the Suicide Squad in the comics, the team members change all the time. So let's just assume, well, let's just be open to that thought as well. So there we have it. There's the very sad interpretation of these two news today, whether you like James Gunn or not. You know, I'll put that aside. Ben Affleck they're saying Ben Affleck is dropping out of Batman, but really, if you look at the article, he didn't say that. He didn't come out and say, I'm done as Batman. I'm done. Thank you so much for allowing me to be Batman. You know, something people usually say and says, I can't wait for the next Batman. He's just excited for that movie, which calls for a younger Bruce Wayne. It won't work for his character. They even say it in the Deadline article where he had once worked hard on the Batman story, but he knew himself he wasn't the right one for this particular version. So Will's particular version. So that's an interesting. So you can take from that, you can interpret it, you can be sad about it, sure, and if you believe that he's gone, then okay, he's gone, and mourn for that. But for the hopeful people, if you really read it, it doesn't actually. He didn't come out and say he's done. He didn't say thank you for allowing me to play Batman and I'm moving on. He didn't say that. Same thing as James Gunn. A lot of people are assuming this is done. They're resetting it. They're going to get a new person to play Deadshot. They're they're going to get a new person to play Joker, a new person to play Killer Croc, and all this stuff. But all it really says is they're going to mostly bring back, mostly have all new characters. And to me, that means a new characters for other actors to fulfill, and while retaining some of the characters from some of the team, I should say team members. They're getting new team members, and replacing other team members, kind of like the G.I. Joe movie, when the first G.I. Joe movie and the other G.I. Joe movie, so that's how I see it for that. And if you don't believe that, then it's fine. We'll see. Time will tell with all this stuff, right? And I think hopefully it's for the better. It's great to see Zack Snyder being, even though it's just an executive producer, more like a financial backing in a way, and putting his name atop, because he was part of the production for the first Suicide Squad movie. But it's great to see that name and them having some credit for the universe that is continuing on without them. That brings me out to the point of what's going on with this whole thing. And I know this video is going longer than it should be, but that brings me to that point where 2019, we're going to be, it's this year, Shazam and the Joker. We don't know what the Joker is. We don't know. They're saying it's not even connected to this universe, if this universe is connected at all. I mean, it's so vague in the way Toby Emmerich says they're not focused on a shared universe. Right? And for a lot of intents and purposes, that's a good thing, because it doesn't hold the director accountable to what happens next. But at the same time, is it too free? Is it too open that they don't have to worry about another movie, and all of a sudden there is really no canon? They don't believe in a giant slate, like how Matt Reeves has said. Warner believes they don't have to try to develop a giant slate that has to have all the plans for how it's going to connect. What they need to try is just make good movies with these characters, and whether they connect or not, they don't care. And if they don't care, then at the same time, why would we care if Ben Affleck is not in the Batman, when the Batman could essentially be in another timeline, and that's not the version that is with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and Jason Momoa as Aquaman. It could be a different universe, like how the Joker is a different universe. So we're trying to assume things, but I think we should wait and see how that turns out. But it does feel, for a lot of people, kind of frightening to see what their eventual plans is, or are they just shooting things out, what works, and see what sticks. So like I said, Shazam, the Joker, 2020, we're going to have Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 1984, Birds of Prey, and then 2021, we're going to have the Batman and the Suicide Squad. Then that just leaves room for When's New Gods and everything. But that's the slate right now. And how that will all combine together, how that will all make sense, if at all, and will eventually what Walter Hamada has intended for this entire universe. That's the $1 billion question. Alright guys, well that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.